And that's when I started looking into like, okay, what do I need to be doing? Well, like the first thing is you need to pray. And that's something that I struggled with. When you get closer to Salah, you get closer to Allah.
What are you thinking?
Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Muhammad Ammar Ghazi Salim Qasim Ismail U'taybi Muslim, but you can call me Mo. I'm joking, don't call me Mo. That's a hate crime. Don't do that. Today's video is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to be doing a vlog or a reaction. We're just going to be having a conversation. That's only one way, because you can't talk back to me like I can't hear you. I'm going to be talking to you guys about my experience as a Muslim living in the West. I'm going to be sharing a little bit of commentary about my journey as a Muslim going closer to Islam and going closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and some of the obstacles and challenges I've faced throughout my entire journey of being Muslim. And the reason I'm making this video is in hopes that it could help someone that's watching this who's also struggling with some similar things that I went through, or anyone who's willing to watch and learn a new perspective of a Muslim brother of theirs who is also facing challenges growing up in the West. Now, a disclaimer before I start this video. I know I said this video is for Muslims who are kind of going through the same problems as me, or just any Muslims who are just watching, but the real person who this video is for is me. And the reason I say that is because the things I'm going to be talking about, I really want them to be a reminder for myself. As a Muslim, I struggle a lot. Obviously, like being a Muslim growing up in the West, there's a lot of like different obstacles and things that try to take you away from your religion and your path to your faith. The reason I'm saying that is because I want to remind myself that this is for me. And to end that note, make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and comment down below what you guys want to see next time. Also, don't forget to follow me on all of my social medias because I post content like this on there all the time. First, let me introduce myself to the new subscribers. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Muhammad, I'm 19 years old, I'm a college student, but I also make content on here. I was born in America, but I was raised in Amman, Jordan, and since then I've been living and being brought up here in America. First, I want to start the timeline of this story by when I came to America, because that's kind of when I had the self-awareness that I am Muslim and I'm different than everybody around me. So when we moved to America, we actually moved to the Midwest, and we live in very southern Midwest, okay, very rural, white, conservative community, and for the most part, it was actually pretty nice. Like, the people here were very kind, and other than the fact that they were very poorly educated about Muslims and Arabs, the people here were very nice. However, like I said, they were very ignorant about Islam and about Arabs and our culture. I would be lying if I said that I've never had an experience with someone who kind of made these jokes without malintent. Like, it's happened when people were just trying to be funny and kind of poking the bear in the sense that they wanted me to kind of feel like left out or weird because I'm the only Muslim in my class. For the most part of my educational career here in America, from like middle school into high school, I was like the only Muslim in my class for a lot of the time. For the most part, I was probably the only Muslim student in the entire school, with the exception of a few other Muslims that I didn't even know were Muslim. Like, I didn't even know that they were Muslim until like they showed up to like senior year with a hijab, and I was like, oh shoot, Sarah, you're Muslim? Like, you know, like I didn't even know. Like, they were undercover. Okay, you guys, I totally forgot to plug in the mic. I was trying to like be a very responsible YouTuber, so I bought these like portable mics that I wanted to use in this video so that the audio would be more crisp.
You mean crisp like your breath?
I'm sorry, I had to. It was too easy. We're gonna test this little microphone out. I'm gonna put it right here. I hope that doesn't look stupid. Testing. Okay, we're just gonna hold it because that's just too much work. Honestly, a lot of the times, like whenever the topic of Islam or Muslims came up in school, like in history class or something, I always felt like I had to defend my religion because a lot of the students around me, they had these stereotypical thoughts about Muslims that we were all like, you know, really bad and oppressive and we hate our women and, you know, we're all terrorists and like there's some weird ideology and, you know what I mean? Like, they had these very twisted thought of what Muslims actually are, which is not their fault for the most part. A lot of them were young, so they were taught by their parents, they were taught by the news. I had to deal with that a lot, which, I mean, it's fine. It built character. I'm not complaining about that. However, this did impact me and it did influence me because I learned from a very young age that people around me did not like Muslims. It made them uncomfortable. Islam was a topic that wasn't really talked about unless it was part of like the curriculum, and if it was, we were talking about like 9/11 or the war in Iraq. It was a very small chance that we would be talking about Islam in a good, positive way. And you know how I would know that I was like almost embarrassed to be Muslim when I was in middle school? Because I was like the only Muslim and I felt like I was weird and out of place And I look back at it now and I'm just like, oh my god, like why was I like that? I just tried to be like everybody else. I was just a kid. Whenever people would ask me about like Islam and they would ask me questions like, why do women wear that thing on their head? They would ask me questions like, why do you guys say like Allahu Akbar? Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Or you know, whatever questions they had, I would answer them. But when I was answering them, I would literally like automatically try to make them more comfortable by whitewashing the response. I would say things like, Muslim women wear the hijab the same way that like nuns cover their head. Well, you know, we say Allahu Akbar, like God is the greatest, like how you guys like in church, like you guys in church, you guys say God is the greatest, right? I would constantly try to like look for validation because I felt like I wasn't validated in my religion, and that honestly was just because I was young and I didn't really understand my religion, you know what I mean? And I felt like as if I was like constantly having to defend my identity as a Muslim. Also, I'm not sure how this mic is going. I hope it's doing well. I started pushing my deen away. I kind of just stopped like really like learning about it. Just started like distancing myself slowly from like everything that had to do with like the Muslim community where I was living, especially considering that the Muslim community where I was living was very small at the time of when we came to America. It wasn't like as big as it is now, where like there's literally hundreds of Muslim kids in my old high school. I will never forget when someone asked me like, oh, where are you from? And I was like, the Middle East. And they were like, what? Isn't that like dangerous place? Like, oh my god, what was that like? And I was like, no, like we're in the Midwest. It's like the Mid-East. Now, moving on later, whenever I got into high school, this is when I had completely disconnected from Islam. Y'all, I was having people call me Mo. I always loved Islam so much and had respect for Islam. I just distanced myself from it because I felt that that's what I had to do in order to be socially accepted here in the West. Eventually, COVID hit in my junior year and I was away from everybody for an entire year and I wasn't influenced by anyone. At this point, I had started TikTok and I was gaining followers, and so all these people from my school were reaching out like, oh my god, you're so cool, you have so many followers. And I was just like, what the heck, since when do you want to talk to me? It was like an awakening where I was like, oh wow, like all of these kids are super pathetic, you know, like I don't really have any friends. And it was like an awakening, okay? It was an awakening. Then I started to kind of have a really, really close circle of good Muslim friends, and that was the first time where I felt like I could talk about relatable things like, you know, waking up for suhoor during Ramadan and you look like a zombie, or like fasting and you know how hungry you get and your stomach rumbles and your breath stinks. So like all these relatable things that like as Muslims we all go through. And it's like, then I started making story times on TikTok about Islam and how my experiences with like ignorant Americans about Islam, and they started blowing up and everyone started DMing me being like, oh my god, this has happened to me and this has happened to me and I have people like that. And I'm like, what? This is not like a me thing, this is like a everybody thing, like a universal experience with Muslims here in the West. Like everyone has gone through something like this. I kind of began to look more into Islam, and it kind of started by just like watching a few videos on YouTube and like listening to my parents talk about Islam, listening to my uncles and my grandpa, Allah yarhamu, talk about Islam. And it wasn't until I really actually had like a really scary life experience, and I'm not going to talk about that on here, that's a video for another time, but let's just say something like kind of tragic where I was like, oh shoot, like what the heck, that's out of my 16-year-old teenage brain, like what was that? That like moment led me to kind of like look into Islam more and you know everything, like what this dunya is and how this is all a test and this is all temporary. And I started reading about this and like actually realizing like this is like what my parents have been preaching, what my grandparents have been preaching, what my siblings live, you know what I mean? Like I started seeing Islam where I didn't see it before, the beauty of our religion where I didn't see it before, and I saw it in so many ways because I was so fixated on having a certain group of people like me and accept me, when what I didn't realize is the only person's acceptance I needed was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then I had to come to the realization that if I'm a Muslim, I need to be doing Muslim things. I can't just say, hey, my name is Muhammad, I'm Muslim, and then behind the scenes, I'm not, you know, praying well, you know, doing dhikr or reading Quran or doing these things that like as Muslims we should be doing, right? Or have to be doing. I wasn't doing all the things that I should be doing or could be doing as a Muslim to be better. And that's when I started looking into like, okay, what do I need to be doing? Well, like the first thing is you need to pray, and that's something that I struggled with for a long time. Went without salah, and that was kind of the game changer. Whenever I got closer to salah, that was like the thing that brought me closer to Islam in general. When you get closer to salah, you get closer to Allah. Whenever whenever you're far away from salah, it's like you don't have that daily connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so your entire, like experience with Islam is going to be different than someone who does pray 5 times a day. Even if that person who prays 5 times a day is like, drinks and does, drugs and eats pork, like whatever that is, even if he is able to maintain that 5 prayers, he's going to be able to have a stronger connection with Allah than someone who, doesn't pray but doesn't do any of those bad things.
Drugs or eat pork, y'all. I'm just saying that even if you are currently doing things that aren't halal or doing things that you shouldn't be doing, that shouldn't stop you from praying. Like, even if you are struggling with a drug addiction or struggling with alcohol, or you have bad habits of whatever it is, that shouldn't stop you from praying, because essentially prayer is what can help you get away from that and help you establish a connection with Allah. At the end of the day, that connection with Allah is what's going to make you abandon those habits and seek more forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyways, don't eat pork, kids.
That's when I started praying, and it was like right before Ramadan, and I just was like, okay, that's it, like I'm gonna start praying. And I started praying 5 times a day, and that kind of just like completely changed my scope, because now I opened a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I felt like I had closed a long time ago. And what I realized is, even though I stopped talking to Allah, He never stopped listening to me. I might have closed that conversation by stopping salah, but Allah never stopped listening to what I was saying or listening to what was happening in my life. Like, Allah was always there for me, even though I wasn't there worshiping Allah like I should have been. And then that kind of hit me with like a strong sense of guilt. For a long time, I just felt super guilty about like, oh my God, like I wasn't praying and all these things. And like through a lot of dua and through a lot of like, reading Quran and staying in a state of dhikr, and eventually I went Umrah, and it was like this beautiful experience, like, like going Umrah, going to the Kaaba, going to Medina, visiting Rasul alayhi salam, and like, having this entire experience wasn't only life-changing, but it showed me what had been lacking in my life. I was fighting for this validation from other people, but what I was putting aside was the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was the validation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what I really need, you know what I mean? I don't want these people to be pleased with me. I want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with me, because at the end of the day, these people aren't going to give me anything past this dunya, you know what I mean? Allah is the one who's going to give me everything in this dunya and everything outside of it.
But just shut up, you didn't see nothing, shut up! I wasn't even crying, like there was something in my eye. I couldn't see nothing.
That is my first experience, and a reminder to myself that salah is so important, and having khushu', having humility, having focus in your salah, that is like the next step, you know what I mean? If you're at 5 prayers right now, let's do sunnah prayers, if you're doing sunnah prayers, okay, let's do qiyam al-layl, adding and adding and adding to make sure that you're always progressing as a Muslim. And then on top of that, making sure that you're doing dhikr, constantly having the remembrance of Allah on your tongue. It doesn't have to be a thing where, I'm holding my masbah and I'm going around subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. You can be in a state of dhikr, having it in your heart, remembering Allah in your heart without ever moving your tongue. I can be having a conversation right now. I could be in a state of dhikr because I'm remembering Allah and my heart is remembering Allah. That is what ultimately changed my complete mindset, because I would be going out and my sole focus was thinking about Allah in everything I do. Going to the grocery store, making dua, Ya Allah, make this grocery trip beneficial, make this grocery trip easy, you know what I mean? Ya Allah, I'm going to the gym, make this workout beneficial, make this workout healthy. Ya Allah, I'm about to eat this meal, make this meal nutritional, make this meal delicious. All these little du'ats, like making these little things, constantly remembering Allah. Guys, it's like game changing, okay? And it doesn't happen overnight. Like, you literally takes months, okay? It takes time. For me, it took a few years. Once you get to a point when you're in it, this is weird, but you just constantly feel like Allah is like placing peace in your heart. Like Allah is just like you're just feeling, you're just constantly peaceful. Like nothing mattered, you know what I mean? Like, but Allah. Like, I remember like after Ramadan, like it was right after Ramadan, and I just remember like after that first month of praying consistently 5 times a day, praying qiyam al-layl, you know what I mean? Like praying all these like sunnahs, right after that, I just felt like this week of overwhelming peace, you know what I mean? Like it was something that it literally felt like peace. Like everything was just peaceful, you know, no matter what was happening on the outside, I was peaceful from the inside, and it was reflecting throughout everyone that I was talking to. Like my cousins were saying that, my siblings, my aunts, my uncles, they were all like, you just seem more peaceful, like, you know, you have like nude on your face, like all these different things. Ultimately, that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where I am now today as a Muslim is just trying to be better than what I was before, you know what I mean? As a Muslim, I'm flawed. Like, I don't want you guys to watch this video and be like, oh my God, look at Muhammad, he's a perfect Muslim. Absolutely not. This video is a reminder for me more than it is a reminder or advice for any of you guys. It's the difference between those who sin and those who repent that
is the difference between Jannah and Jahannam. At the end of the day, I just kind of realized that like establishing a connection with Allah is the most important thing on my priority list, okay? It's not social media and making videos, and that's why for a good like 3 months, I kind of just stopped posting. Like I posted maybe like a few times every month, but overall I just kind of took a break and I used that time to really focus on like where I stand with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know, I honestly just like remember completely indulging myself in ibadah, you know, and I always try to keep that going and, you know, not let that fire burn.
I mean, let that fire go out? Like, shut up. Oh my God.
Because the way that obviously always makes me feel is that Allah is close and that I feel peaceful from within. The thing is, everyone can achieve this. Everyone can like start their journey towards Islam, and we all are at different spots. Like, don't compare yourself to someone who's like praying 5 times a day and reading the whole Quran and has it all memorized and like, you know, prays Qiyam al-Layl. Do not compare yourself to that person. You are not that person, okay? If I, whenever, you know, first started praying, was looking at like Mufti Menk and being like, why can't I be like him? You know, I would have never gotten anywhere. You have to focus on yourself as a Muslim and be like, where am I right now? How am I doing with my salah? How am I doing with my dhikr? How am I doing with my, you know, a character? How am I treating other people? How am I doing with like remembering Allah throughout the day? Are you embodying what it means to be a Muslim? Are you talking like a Muslim? Are you like listening to things like a Muslim? Are you looking at things like a Muslim? Are you thinking about things like a Muslim? Once you do that, slowly your character is going to start changing to embody your faith more, and you're going to start realizing all the things that you were doing from before that you should change. The first thing I did was try to stop cursing, and this is something I struggle with because like I have a lot of cousins that are my age and like my siblings and stuff, and so we, like every now and then we like slip up or whatever, and it's just a reminder that we have to try to stop. Like especially during Ramadan, I put emphasis like I'm not gonna curse, and sometimes it's like little words, you know, like little stupid words. It's like, why are we saying this? Like we're grown, you know, we shouldn't be like cursing like this. It's just, it's silly, it's immature, and it's not right. It's not the tongue of a Muslim. And then it's like your ears. I mean, like, what are your ears listening to? Are you listening to music? Now, I'm not a sheikh. Okay, like I said, I'm not a sheikh. I'm not gonna sit here and make music is haram. That's not what I'm saying, okay? The truth is, Quran is much more pleasing to your ears and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than music is. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you don't listen to music ever again. Music is haram. I'm not a sheikh. Don't come to me with none of that. No. My point is, do what's more pleasing to Allah. What's more pleasing to Allah? You listening to, you know, Taylor Swift's new album, or listening to Quran, Islamic podcasts, and things that are going to actually benefit you. And obviously this is a slow change, and I know for a lot of people music is like super hard to give up. Like I know a lot of people who for them music was like that was so difficult for them to give up. Like it was so hard. But I promise you, there is not enough room in your heart for Quran and music. They cannot coexist. They cannot. I'm telling you from my personal experience, it's one or the other, guys. And I'm telling you right now, Quran is the much better take, because it will soothe you, it will protect you, it will guide you, and it will remind you of Allah constantly. And next is character, and how I kind of really had to change the way that I was just kind of engaging with people, like in my workplace, my siblings, and my family. I was never like a mean or rude person or anything like that. It was just like I wasn't as good of a Muslim as I could be, in the sense that, you know, like I wasn't, you know, engaging with my parents like I should have. Like we have to treasure our parents, like cherish the blessing of having 2 parents alive. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. May Allah protect all of our parents and you know, increase them in the ranks of Jannah. You have to cherish your parents when you have them. You have to take care of them. You have to talk to them in a good sense. And I always try to be better at that. As a sibling, I just was super annoying to my siblings because I'm the youngest in my family. And so my siblings, you know, like I feel like there's an age gap a lot of the time. I was just kind of like, I want to be myself. I want to film a video. I want to do this. I want to, you know what I mean? I just constantly was like thinking about myself. Here's the thing that kind of like really shifted my mental states, my mindset. In the West, they teach you that you are very important. You are the most important person in the world. Your opinion matters, your life matters, your thoughts and your being and your beliefs, that is the center of the world. You know what I mean? Everyone should tolerate you, everyone should respect you, everyone should just be in awe of you. You are the center of the world. You know, you're so important. And that's not true. That is not true at all. Not everyone is going to respect you. Not everyone is going to respect your beliefs. Not everyone is going to respect who you are as a person. And definitely not everyone is going to see you as the center of the world. I'm sorry. That's just the real world, okay? Your thoughts are not always right. You know what I mean? Like, you're not always right. You're not the center of the world. And that is exactly what Islam teaches you. Islam teaches you that you are this big compared to the universe. You are this big. You are a grain of sand in the desert. You are a drop of water in the ocean, y'all. You are a star in the night sky, okay? Islam teaches you that you are this small in the eyes of the whole world, but you are everything in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you know what I mean? If you are a righteous believer. And what that does is it makes your problems this small. It makes your worries this small. But it makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the center of your life. What that does is it literally changes your focus, your whole mentality. The way you look at things completely changes. You know what I mean? Like, I used to get so upset over the littlest things, like, you know, people doing dumb stuff or just like things going wrong in my life. But like, when you have this mentality switch, you just stop caring about these little things so much. You know what I mean? You realize that the way you're talking, the way that you're engaging with people, everything has an impact on the way that you view life. Whenever like I really started getting closer to Islam, I had this mentality switch to the point where if someone were to come up to me and start a fight, the first thought in my head was they're probably having like a really hard time, like let's make dua for them. You know what I mean? Like, may Allah help them, may Allah ease them. I'm not going to engage in this violence. I'm not going to engage with someone who clearly is, you know, not mentally doing well. Clearly they're not speaking at their best, so I'm not going to stoop down to their level. And that is such an important thing. If someone comes at you and starts cursing, why would you stoop down to their level and start cursing back? You're a person who set standards for yourself. You set standards for yourself. You said, that's it, I'm done cursing, I'm never going to curse again. And someone comes at you and starts cursing and gets you really angry, and then you start cursing. You just lowered your standard for yourself. You have standards as a person. Yeah, it's hard because you might really want to, but as Muslims, we have standards for ourselves, and our religion sets standards for ourselves, and that is what we always have to constantly be trying to improve on. The thing that's helped me the most is A, surrounding yourself around good Muslim friends, B, reading the Quran, get close to the Quran, have a close connection to it. 3, dhikr. Keep the words of Allah on your tongue. Keep your mouth busy with the remembrance of Allah constantly throughout the day. Bismillah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, la ilaha illallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, subhanallah. All these words, keep them on your mouth. When you leave the house, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. By the way, this is supposed to encourage you to get closer to Islam. I really want you guys to learn more about Islam, learn more about the Quran. Even if you're not Muslim, you know, like, learn more about Islam just for the sake of actually knowing what 2 billion people around the world are practicing. You know, it's good to be an informed person. But for my Muslims watching this is an opportunity to get closer to your religion. You know, this is the sign that you're clicking on this video and watching it. Like, open the Quran, just read it. You know what I mean? Like, pray 2 extra rak'at. Like, just do a little bit of tasbih. You know what I mean? Like, just make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this whole experience on this dunya easier for you. You know what I mean? On your journey closer to Islam, people are going to look at you, especially Muslims, are going to look at you like you are really conservative, really strict, really, you know, mutashaddid. Experienced this when I came back from Umrah, because when you come back from Umrah, it's just like a different world. You know what I mean? You just saw the Kaaba, so you're just kind of like, I need to be the best Muslim I possibly can, and that lasts for like probably a month. Whenever you come to Umrah, you're at your spiritual high. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're praying your best, you have a lot of khushu' on your salah, you're making a lot of du'ats, your soul is cleansed, like, you feel so close to Allah, and then obviously you come back to your real life, and you get, you know, distracted by the work, and the noise of just like this dunya just gets to you, and you become back to your normal ways, right?
And whenever I came back from Umrah, like I said, I was at a spiritual high, and I was just like really not listening to music. I remember getting in the car with a friend, and we were driving somewhere, and they put on music because that's like what we used to do, right, before like all this. And mind you, I haven't really talked to this friend in a while. Like, this was the first time we were going out in a long time. And I remember them putting on music, and I was just like, hey, like, do you mind like turning that off? Like, I don't really like listening to music. Like, maybe we can put on some like nasheeds or some Quran, because they were Muslim as well. You know, I don't really like listening to music. It just kind of like, you know, it's not my thing. And they were just like, oh, you know, Mr. Muslim here, you know, like Mr. Sheikh here just came back from Umrah, you're all this and this and this and this. And obviously, like, they were joking, but like the idea that like not listening to music or like doing one good deed makes you a sheikh, or makes you like, you know, this mufti, or makes you the best Muslim, is just shows you how low the standards are today. Like, if you tell someone, yeah, I pray 5 times a day, I read Quran, I do dhikr, I fast for Ramadan,
you're the most pious person they've ever met, you are mufti mate. You know what I mean? Astaghfirullah al-azim. Like, that's it. Like, they see you as the sheikh. That is the basic. Like, you need to fast. We're all on the same page here, right? Like, I would wear like Islamic clothing, and that would just throw people off. And to make this full circle again, whenever I used to live overseas in an Arab Muslim country, no one would ever think like that. Like, but in the West, it's just different because we've been so assimilated to Western culture. Like, now we just think about everything as like, oh my God, like, that's so weird. Why is he like, you know, God forbid he, you know, prays an extra rak'ah. Like, really. And inshallah, this serves as a reminder for you guys that you should not be ashamed of being Muslim. You should be proud to be Muslim, and we all go through these experiences. We're all going to experience these moments where people kind of look at us differently because we're Muslim. And even if they are Muslim themselves, but what we have to remember is why we're doing this and who we're doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is it. That's all you need to remember, and it'll get you through all of this, I promise. I really wanted to touch base on a lot of more things in this video, but I don't want it to be too long. I just kind of want this to be introduction to our new series where we're going to be talking about Islam with me. I don't have a name for the series yet, but if you guys have any ideas, let me know down in the comments below. If you have any ideas for titles for this new series of where I'll talk about Islam and my experiences as a Muslim. Thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way through. Make sure to subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and turn on your post notifications so you never miss when I post a brand new video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok and on Threads and on Snapchat and on Twitter. You know what? Just follow me on whatever you want. Instagram mostly because that's where I'm most active. Just a disclaimer that anything I said that was wrong or incorrect is from the shaitan, and everything that I said that was right and correct is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu a'lam on all of these topics. Again, I am not a scholar or a sheikh. I just ask you guys to be kindful and respectful on the comments about this video because I am just sharing my personal experience as a Muslim. Inshallah, this video is beneficial and inshallah gives you a new perspective. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.